Love at first sight is nothing but a myth, and I'm going to show you why. It's just a clever trick that our minds play on us. Movies and media often portray love at first sight as some epic, romantic, and unforgettable experience. We've all seen it. The classic rom-com where the lead characters lock eyes across the room and then suddenly they're just meant to be. But how often does this really happen in real life? When we think of love at first sight, we typically imagine it as this instant, deep, and emotional connection with someone. But in reality, it's just a shallow attraction based on physical appearance. And we've all been guilty of it. Judging someone based on how they look without even getting to know them. And that's exactly the problem. We're setting ourselves up for unrealistic expectations in our relationships. We think that if it wasn't love at first sight, that it's not meant to be. But what if I told you that's not how it works? That's not how our brains work. That's not how love works. Our society is so obsessed with the idea of love at first sight that we often overlook signs of a potentially toxic or an unhealthy relationship. We get so caught up in the excitement of it all that we ignore all the red flags. And before we know it, we're stuck in a relationship that's not even serving us. You gotta take a step back and reevaluate what you're looking for in a partner. Are we looking for someone who's gonna make our hearts skip a beat? Or are we looking for someone who's actually gonna be there for us, who genuinely cares about us? Love at first sight can lead to shallow and superficial connection between two people. We're so focused on the physical attraction that we forget to build the deeper emotional connection. What's going to sustain us in the long run? People aren't taking the time to get to know one another, to understand each other's values and their interests and their goals. They're just stuck in this honeymoon phase, thinking that the infatuation will last forever. But it doesn't. It simply doesn't. But let's take a look at what the experts have to say. You don't got to take my word for it. Let's take a look at what they have to say. There's studies that's been done that show that attraction is largely driven by physical appearance. And that's what creates that initial spark. But what happens when that spark fades? What happens when the infatuation wears off? What's left? Because it ain't love. It's just that shallow connection that you build. It's not about the person. It's about the chemicals in our brain. In fact, Dr. Helen Fisher, a renowned anthropologist, she found that romantic love isn't even an emotion, but it's a drive, similar to hunger or thirst. That's interesting, ain't it? It's a craving for attachment, and it's often driven by physical attraction. And that's exactly what love at first sight is. It's a drive, it's a craving, it's a chemical reaction in our brain. And when we take a closer look at love, we realize it's not just about that initial attraction. It's deeper than that. It's not about just the sparks flying and the butterflies in your stomach. It's about the emotional connection, the trust, the vulnerability, and the commitment. It's about building a life with someone, not just being infatuated with them. There's a story that comes to mind. It's a girl, she thought she found her soulmate at a party. They locked eyes, had their little butterflies in their stomach moment. And, for a while after that, they were inseparable. They rushed into the relationship. But as time went on, she realized that they had nothing in common. They didn't share the same values, the same goals, the same interests. And they were stuck in that honeymoon phase, thinking that it was love. But in all reality, it wasn't. Their relationship was based off of a shallow attraction. So eventually, it fizzled out. And a lot of people end up going through things like that in their lives. And that's exactly why love at first sight is a scam, because you're not actually building any true relationship just off of that initial interaction. There's work that needs to be done afterwards. It's a myth, that we've been sold that you could just see someone and just know that they're your person. It's something that some people chase. It's a way to make us feel good, to make us feel like we're in love. But in reality, if you don't do the work, there ain't gonna be no love there. It's just going to be the shallow connection based on that physical attraction that we talked about, which will eventually wear off. So let's wrap this up. Love at first sight is not a thing. It's not the key to a successful relationship. It's not the key to true love. What you need to be focused on is building a deeper emotional connection built on trust, vulnerability, and commitment. You got to take the time to get to know one another, to understand each other's values, their interests, and their goals, the stuff that matters in the long run. If you don't do that, it's going to be very hard for you to be able to build a healthy and long-lasting relationship with someone. Infatuation alone is not enough to sustain any relationship. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Drop in the comments. Let me know. Do you feel like you've ever experienced love at first sight? Do you disagree? Do you think it's a scam? Do you think it's, still a real thing? If it ever was a real thing, which according to what we talked about, it's not. Let me know what you think in the comments. And check out this next video where we talk about why you should never settle in today's dating world. See you in the next one.